A heightened threat environment after a pair of terror attacks yesterday, but despite the warnings, congressional Democrats are not budging on their plans to not end the partial shutdown at the Department of Homeland Security. Let's bring in Florida Republican Congressman Brian Mast, chairman of the House Foreign Affairs Committee. Thanks, Congressman, so much for hanging with us through the vice president's speech. We had on Fox earlier today President Obama's DHS Secretary Jay Johnson, who said, it's time to end all of this. It's time to fund DHS. Listen to what he said.
DHS is more than just immigration enforcement. It's aviation security, it's maritime security, it's port security, it's cyber security, it's the Secret Service, it's FEMA. Republicans and Democrats have to get out of the business of coupling policy disagreements in Congress with funding government agencies. This is the Department of Government that exists to keep us safe, and we are in a heightened threat environment right now.
And Senator Alyssa Lockwood of Michigan had a change of heart yesterday, too, after voting no for the bill. Suddenly she now comes around after that attack at the synagogue and says, oh, no, we have to fund DHS. I mean, what about the rest of her colleagues?
Yeah, you look at this whole argument, and you see that they're trying to say, number one, don't secure the southern border of the United States of America. Let Hamas, Hezbollah, Al-Qaeda, take your pick of terrorist organizations. Just let them come across our border because we don't want to fund ISIS or CBP. That's what they're saying, number one, in their rhetoric, in their policy. But what's so ironic about this is that the only part of DHS that's actually funded right now to the end of the year is ICE and CBP. You look at the rest of Homeland Security, you look at Coast Guard, you look at TSA, you look at FEMA. Those are the ones that are actually getting hurt. Those are the ones that are not funded, that are not getting paychecks. The ones that the Democrats are lying about that they don't want to be funded, those are the ones that are getting paychecks. That's why it's so wrong. And their whole argument is all just built on lies and none of it built on national security.
Yeah, I mean, ICE is not just funded until the end of the year. They're funded until the end of the president's term. Here's what Senator Tom Cotton said about it when we had him on yesterday.
We should have funded the Department of Homeland Security weeks ago. We need Homeland Security on the job, protecting our borders, enforcing our immigration laws, protecting our coasts, and making sure that we're not vulnerable to attack from abroad as well.
But the Democrats are stubbornly saying, no, we've got to reform ICE. We've got to reform ICE. I haven't seen a front page story about ICE since Tom Homan pulled them out of Minneapolis.
Yeah, they're not interested in talking about ICE anymore. They're only interested in talking about what they consider to be some kind of political emergency. And right now, the Democrats not working to keep terrorists out of our country or fund the agency that deals with terrorists, that's an emergency for them, and that's why you see them starting to abandon ships. They're like rats jumping off a ship right now because of that.
I wanted to ask you about this, too, because the Democrats have been up in arms in opposition over the president's actions in Iran. But I saw this Wall Street Journal op-ed today from David Boies, who's a famous Democrat attorney, who is supporting President Trump. He said, quote, if he, Trump, hadn't acted, his successor would have been left with an even more dangerous choice than his predecessors left him. 3 or 4 years from now, the Iranian missiles now hitting Iran's neighbors could be hitting Berlin or London, perhaps even New York or Washington, perhaps with a nuclear device or at least a dirty bomb. The widespread hostility to this military action seems untethered to any serious discussion of the merits. What is the alternative? So, I mean, Congressman, this is pretty extraordinary. Somebody like David Boies coming out and saying to Democrats, look, you're on the wrong page. Get in support of this.
No, he's narrowing it down in the exact correct way. What did Iran want to do? They wanted to provide nukes, they wanted to provide terrorists, and they wanted to deliver them as far as they possibly could. So they had terrorist proxies like Hezbollah and the Houthis in other countries and other places. They had the ballistic missile program. They're working to expand the ballistic missile program so that they could reach out further and further, not just Israel, but Europe and the United States of America, and ultimately put a nuclear tip on it.
All right, Congressman, always good to catch up with you. We'll keep on watching all the...
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.